We turn now to the Senate Intelligence Committee Chair, Republican Richard Burr. He joins us now from Greensboro, North Carolina. Senator, let me just start where the ambassador left off. He said everybody wants a deal, but what they want is a good deal. From what you're able to tell about these negotiations so far, is this a good deal that's shaping up?
Well, Bob, we've just got bits and pieces that have come from the administration or through other sources that are familiar with the negotiations. And it doesn't seem to be headed in the right direction. And clearly, with a deadline of Tuesday, I'm concerned with what we might give away. The Iranians don't seem to want to conclude this. But I think more importantly, right now, when we see ISIL in 12 different countries around the world, we see Iran playing in about 9 countries financially or physically. I think now's the time to push back from the table and ask ourselves, is it really time to trust the people that we're negotiating with, the Iranians? I would encourage the administration, let's take more time. Let's not hasten to a deal, and I fear that Secretary Kerry believes that he's got to get a deal by Tuesday.
So what you're saying is if you would be one of those who would favor postponing the deadline here and keep working?
Well, listen, I think that's better than a really bad feeling about what they might come with. But I think, Bob, I suggest you look at the realities around the world, and you just explained it really well. In one place, we're partnering. In another place, we're actually partnering with the people that are fighting against Iranian-backed folks. This week, last week, we saw the Iraqis call on the U.S. for airstrikes into Crete. And we saw the Shia militia boycott the fact that America was involved in even some conversation about taking the opportunity to either down aircraft or to kill Americans. These are the same people we're sitting at a table with saying we're going to trust them not to have nuclear proliferation. And in fact, this is one of the most chaotic times in the history of the world, I think, not only in the Middle East, but in North Africa, West Africa, Central Asia. And it seems like Iran is there stoking the fire just about in all cases.
Well, I know you've been briefed as the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. What is your sense of what is happening in Yemen right now?
Well, clearly we're on the verge of a civil war, and I think that we have seen, as the ambassador just said, who has been a tremendous representative from Saudi. I had a long conversation with the ambassador last week. 10 countries have come together. Primarily because they can't allow Iran to take a foothold in Yemen. We call them Houthis, but this is Iran. They've financed them, they've consulted them, they've sent weapons, and the fact is that the Gulf states, this coalition, will not stand by and see that presence seated there. And they're a little bit bewildered as to how we can really consult with the Iranians in Iraq, especially the way they treat U.S. forces there.
Should we have done something that we didn't do? Could we have maybe made this situation better than it's turned out to be? Or
well, Bob, it would have started a long time ago by not removing every U.S. boot from the ground in Iraq and making sure that we could have a stable security force there. It's estimated that there are 30,000 either Iraqi and Shia militia that are on the assault for Tikrit. Yet there are only 400 ISIL members holding that entire army off in Tikrit right now, and it required U.S. air strikes to soften them up some. I think the reality is that in our absence, terrorism has flourished throughout the region between Syria and Iraq, and has spread now to countries in North Africa and Central Asia.
Senator, thank you so much for joining us this morning and bringing us that perspective. We're going to turn now to Congressman Adam